The price of compassion. Dr. James Harrison wiped the sweat from his brow as he stepped out of the emergency medical bay aboard the research station Harmony. The small alien child, no bigger than a human toddler, lay sleeping peacefully behind the transparent barrier, her violet skin finally showing healthy color instead of the deathly pale gray she'd arrived with 3 hours ago. The transfusion was successful, he reported to Commander Walsh, who had been pacing the corridor since the emergency began. Her cellular structure accepted the modified human blood plasma remarkably well. She should make a full recovery. Walsh nodded grimly. Any idea what caused the hemorrhaging? Best guess, some kind of genetic blood disorder. Without access to her species' medical records, I had to improvise. James flexed his left arm, still sore from where they'd drawn nearly a pint of his blood for the emergency procedure. The universal translator picked up enough of her physiology to guide the modifications needed. The child, Zara, according to the damaged identification chip they'd found in her escape pod's wreckage, belonged to the Kithaeran species. First contact had been established only 6 months ago, and tensions between their people and the Terran Federation remained delicate. Finding a dying Kithaeran child in a damaged vessel at the edge of Federation space had created a diplomatic minefield. Her mother is requesting an audience, Walsh said carefully. She arrived an hour ago with a full diplomatic escort. James felt his stomach drop. How much trouble are we in? That remains to be seen. The Kithaerans have some unusual customs regarding life debts. The meeting took place in the station's formal conference room, a space designed to accommodate various alien physiologies. Matriarch Velnara cut an imposing figure, nearly 7 feet tall, with the characteristic violet skin and 6-fingered hands of her species. Her elongated skull bore the intricate scarification that marked her as nobility, and her dark eyes held an intelligence that made James acutely aware of how little humanity knew about their new neighbors. Beside her stood 2 other Kithaerans, their ceremonial robes marking them as some kind of religious or cultural advisors. The universal translator hummed softly as it processed their language. Dr. Harrison, the matriarch began, her translated voice carrying formal weight. You have given your life essence to preserve my offspring. By the ancient laws of our people, this creates a bond that transcends species. James glanced at Commander Walsh, who gave him an almost imperceptible nod of encouragement. I'm glad I could help. Any doctor would have done the same. No, Velnara replied firmly. Not any being would risk contamination with foreign blood. Not any being would act without thought of reward or recognition. You have demonstrated the highest virtue of our people, the willingness to sacrifice for the innocent. One of her advisors stepped forward and spoke rapidly in their native tongue. The translator struggled with the complex terminology, offering only fragments. Genetic compatibility, lineage bonds, reproductive obligations. James felt the color drain from his face as the implications became clear. Velnara noticed his expression. I see your translation systems provide adequate understanding. Yes, Dr. Harrison. By saving my daughter's life with your genetic material, you have proven yourself worthy of joining our family line. I formally request that you provide reproductive material to ensure her bloodline carries forward the strength you have shown. The conference room fell silent except for the quiet hum of the life support systems. James struggled to find words that wouldn't cause a diplomatic incident. Matriarch Velnara, Commander Walsh interjected carefully. I believe there may be some cultural misunderstanding here. Dr. Harrison acted purely from medical necessity and humanitarian concern. Intent is irrelevant, replied one of the advisors. The action speaks to genetic quality, the willingness to sacrifice, the compatibility of life essences. These are the traits we seek to preserve. James finally found his voice. I'm honored by your offer truly, but I need to understand. Are you asking me to father children with your daughter? Because she can't be more than 3 years old. The Kithaerans exchanged glances, and something that might have been amusement flickered across Velnara's features. Your species' development patterns are different from ours. Zara will not reach reproductive maturity for another 47 of your years. This is a formal contract for future obligation. A contract that would bind me for half a century? Or until such time as genetic material is successfully provided and offspring produced. Velnara's tone remained formal, but James detected something else underneath, perhaps desperation. Dr. Harrison, you must understand. Zara's condition is hereditary. Without introduction of compatible genetic material, any offspring she produces will suffer the same fate. Your blood saved her life, but only your genetic contribution can save her line. James sat back in his chair, mind reeling. What if I refuse? The advisor spoke again, and the translator offered. Honor debt, family shame, genetic extinction. There would be no legal compulsion, Velnara clarified, but Zara would face a choice between remaining childless or watching her offspring die, as she nearly did. The social implications within our society would be significant. Commander Walsh leaned forward. Is there perhaps some middle ground, some alternative that would satisfy your cultural requirements while respecting Dr. Harrison's autonomy? The second advisor, who had remained silent until now, spoke up. The translation came through clearly. Genetic material can be provided through medical means. Physical bonding is not required if the donor is unwilling. James felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. So you're talking about artificial insemination, not marriage? The precise method is less important than the genetic contribution, Velnara confirmed. Though formal recognition of the bond would carry significant honor within our society. James looked around the room, at Commander Walsh's carefully neutral expression, at the alien delegation waiting for his response, at the medical reports showing little Zara's successful recovery. The weight of the decision pressed down on him. I need time to consider this, he said finally. This isn't just about me, it affects both our species' relationships going forward. Velnara inclined her head gracefully. Time is acceptable. Zara will not reach maturity for decades, as I mentioned. But know this, Dr. Harrison. By saving her life, you have already changed the course of 2 civilizations. The question now is whether that change will be one of cooperation or of missed opportunity. As the Kitharan delegation filed out, James remained seated, staring at his hands. In trying to save one small life, he had stumbled into something much larger, a decision that could shape interspecies relations for generations. Outside the viewport, stars wheeled silently through space, indifferent to the complex moral equations that governed the lives of the beings who traveled between them. But for James Harrison, the universe had suddenly become a much more complicated place. The price of compassion, it seemed, was higher than he had ever imagined.